Hey, Keep Bros, what do you say? What do you know? This is Keep Piazza coming right at you from the man cave. Okay, today's video is clone organ or a polysynth. Which is better? All right. Well, I've been getting a lot of messages um, asking me what I think. Well, first of all, thank you for thinking that I have a valuable opinion. That makes me feel good. Next, all I can do is give you my perspective on what I think. All right. Well, first of all, let's talk about clone organs. There's a lot of good ones out there. Rollin makes, they've made, and they make some really cool ones. Right, currently, the VR09 and the VR730, both are really cool keyboards. They both do great organs. Um, and they do other things too. You know, they have some really cool synth sounds on them. There's not a lot of them, and not a lot of the sounds on these boards, but what's on there is pretty good, and you can manipulate the sounds to it a little bit, not like you could on a synthesizer or a polysynth. Your options are kind of narrow. I know on the VR09 and 730 they give you some really cool things. You get a brass section that's really good, and this is one of my favorites. That was played on a Gaia, but you get that same sound in the VR09 and the 730. It's a really nice. It's really cool. That's one of the cool things about it. They do great organs. They give you a lot of things. They got a lot of post effects that you could do some really pretty cool things, especially with that the master effects knob, and you could set up all type of crazy things to do that. I made a video on the VR09. Those who know me know the story that I traded one of my EXs for one. Then we traded back. Then he wanted to trade back again, and watch that video. It's pretty funny. And but in my opinion, I like the polysynths better. Any polysynth that's worth its weight does good organs. All right, and plus they do so much more. Now getting back to the clone organs, we already talked about Rollin. Back in the day, Korg made some killer ones. They had the Korg CX3 and the BX3. I had the BX3, and I loved the hell out of that. It was a double keyboard, and it was like a little B3. And I got rid of mine mainly because it was just so big. And by the time you put it in its flight case, it was bigger yet. But you take a BX3 and you put that turkey through a Leslie, man, that thing is kicking. Another friend of mine has a newer version of the CX3, and they have a pretty good Leslie sim in them. All right. Some of the earlier Nords, like example, this puppy here, the Nord Electro 3's got killer organs in it. It's got really nice. All right, it's got some really nice organs in it. And the one thing cool is I'm not a big fan of Nord, but one of my favorite things about a Nord is they're very fun to play. All right, so they got some really nice organs on it. I was at a music store and I played some of the newer Yamaha stuff. I think the one that I played was a YC and had the drawbars and everything on it. And a lot of those boards were set up. Well, here's a good example. My favorite clone organ that Roland makes was a Roland VR 760. And with the VR 760, you could do up to 3 sounds at one time. So you had an organ section and a piano section and another section. So you could do piano, organ, and strings or choir. It also had a synthesizer on it, had a brass patch in it, and it also did this. All right, it had that on it, and which was cool. The Nord came out with their version of it, which was the Nord 6D. Very cool keyboard. All right, but then again, it had problems. One of the famous things Nords do is they have a bad memory buffer. They forget programs, and you might be playing, and then you want to go up there, then there's nothing happening. Then you have to turn the keyboard off, turn it back on. But a lot of stupid problems, and for that price tag, you should have 0 problems. All right. So there's the Nords, the Korgs, the Rollins, and the clone organs are pretty cool. They do a lot of stuff. So if you're looking just to play piano and just do like some organ parts and have some extra sounds, you'd be fine like that. All right. In my case, I like the ability to tailor make my sounds. A good example is, say if I'm doing like a country thing. All right, so say if you need like a no organ. So you could tailor make a lot of your things. By the way, I got to go in here and correct I made this country thing where I got organ happening here, and okay, on my fiddle, but when I hit the Leslie, so I got to go in there and correct that. So I'm glad I brought that up here. So I got to correct that. Oh, it's easy. It's another cool thing about polysynth. You can go in there and correct that. All I got to do is just remove the Leslie effect off of this part. All right. So with the polysynths, you could do more. You could actually take your sound and build them. Like in the Chrome EXs that I love and use. Well, I'm a Triton guy, all right? I've had a Triton ever since they came out. I bought a Cronus. I had the Cronus X, and but I ended up liking the Triton better because the Triton's got more balls to it, man. And but if you've never had a Triton, you'd love a Cronus. Well, it turns out these EXs, they're the baby brothers. They give you all the performance stuff you need to do a game. All right, so and a lot of your poly synths, like if you go the Korg way, you'll get the touchscreen, very important, and the sequencer. And they got arpeggiators, you name it. This thing's got everything. A lot of great stuff in this board. I'm surprised they put so much in it for the price of it. So, also now there's other boards out there. They do a lot too. A buddy of mine has the Modi. What are the Modi 6? Didn't I hear the Modi 6 Plus or Modi 8 Plus or whatever? They're really killers. But I can't attest to that because I don't own one. All right, but the polysynths are great. They just do more. You can get really ignorant organs on it. All right, this is an organ split. Or you could do, if you want the full organ. All right, so you do a whole shitload of stuff. So it all depends on what you need the things to do. Um, like I mentioned at first, I always wanted the VR09. Buddy of mine needed a keyboard that did more. He had a Workstation 3 and a bunch of other stuff. And so I ended up trading him my 61 for VR09. I didn't really want to do it, but I had another one, so I had the 73. So I figured I'd put the VR09 and have the 73 do all the main work and stuff. But luckily, he wanted to trade back, and then after we traded back, he wanted to do it again. He wanted to trade back again, but I decided, no, I like having the two polysynths. So it's all on what you need it to do. Also, some of the keyboards that, like the VR09, that has an organ action. The VR730 has a semi-weighted. All right. The Nord Electro 3 is a semi-weighted, but it's really it's a different type. It's just heavier to play, but it's pretty cool. So you got to get used to the action, and the Leslie sounds pretty good. And also, what's nice about the Roland boards and the Yamahas, they give you the drawbars. This has drawbars on it, but it's like these buttons, all right? They're not as fast as real drawbars, but at least you can change them. And so that's that. And so it's all on what you really need a keyboard to do. If you're just a piano player and you want some quick organ and some extra sounds, then the clone organs would probably be the best bet. But like if you want to Um, have your piano. Then you want to have like brass, and a good example is, have your horn sections where. All right, so you could have brilliant stuff. No, you're not gonna get that out of the clone. A lot of crazy stuff you can do. The poly sims are pretty much wide open to anything you need them to do. All right, so that's basically the difference between the two. Then there's a little bit. We're like the EXs. They're the polysynth plus workstation. Then you got the other. There's a little bit another layer. You can get the boards that aren't workstations that do a whole shitload of stuff, like the Junos. All right, the Junos are pretty cool. Which is the Juno DS. Korg has a version of that, which is the Korg Cross. All right, that keyboard does a lot of stuff. It's very cool, and it even's got the pads where you can bring in samples and use those pads to play the samples. You can do that on the Juno, and you can do that on the Korg Cross. All right, very cool. So I kind of think that Korg kind of copied the DS with the Cross. All right, so it's all on what you need it to do. If you just want piano and organ and a splash of this and a splash of that, clone organ's going to do it. But if you need it to do a whole shitload of stuff, then you're going to want a polysynth. And all the polysynths they do great organ. Your key is the Leslie Sims. All right. Now a lot of the stuff is tweakable. All right. Just like I've heard from a lot of people who have the VR09, they thought the Leslie Sim sucked, but there's so many tweaks on that Leslie Sim that you can make that thing sound great. And just think about it. Rollin owns Boss. Boss makes the RT20 Leslie pedal. So, I mean, they're going to get a nice Leslie sound of it. And actually, one of the best, I think the really great B3 sound is I get out of my Triton. When you play, if I put my Triton on, and I got my B3 right behind here, I put them both. They're almost identical. Somehow the Triton captures the soul of the B3. So, but that's what I got for you. I hope this kind of helps you in your questions. So, okay, guys, rock on. God bless. Catch you later.